When you wasn't going to the gym, you felt relaxed, you wasn't sweating or anything else. But after a while, that feeling, that nagging feeling began to take hold of you. Where now, when you have those foods and you consume them, though you get that feeling of a release of niceties and you feel good about it, you're battling that other feeling now, which is basically you feel degraded within yourself, or you feel controlled and consumed by your binging and by the food and by the lack of exercise. And you feel down within yourself and you keep looking in the mirror and you keep feeling a particular way. I'm here to try and break that cycle, but I can only tell you what to do, and it's down to you to do it. Okay, you decided that you're going to do something about your weight, something about how you feel, and you're trying to think where to start. Personally, what I would look at is one of two things. Okay? First thing is, what are you eating and what kind of time? Okay? So look at those things, begin to analyze what you're eating, because it's like anything. If you've got bad data, you've got corrupt information. If you've got good data, now you've got something good to work towards and work with. So often what we do is start hitting the gym, or we start dieting. And I'm telling you right now, there needs to be a combination. There's no need, it's just not worth you just dieting, and it's not worth you just exercising. You have to combine the two together. The quicker you get that in your head and the quicker you make a decision to do that, the quicker you start on the road of actually beginning and making a change. So just go do it. Just go and do it already. It's not worth holding back at all. Okay? That's one of the biggest things I've found. So often I go to the gym and I see people who have been there longer than me, where I've gone and left and come back and everything else like years later. And they're still looking the same. And they're still doing the same things. They're still overweight. There's been no change. So yes, they're active. Yes, their bones and their limbs may be nimble, but they're not losing weight. And I'm telling you now, they must be so grieved, because obviously they're not reaching their aims and aspirations and their goals. And so often you can get caught up in a rut where you're just going round and round and round and round. What you need to do is, like I said, you have to do the two. So what I more often than not kind of recognize, that if someone's not moved or not shifted on at all, or hard or very little, yes, it's a positive move in one sense, don't get me wrong, but they've missed that one big major player, and that is, this is if I obviously seen them in the gym and so forth, and there hasn't been a change for a long period, say 6 months, 18 months, a year. They're not looking at their diet. Many times you will see someone running on the treadmill and they're overweight and everything else, and you're thinking, oh wow, that's great, and they're pushing forward, and they are. But 6 months later, they're still doing the same thing, the same routine, and they're still overweight. Or they're training both with the weights and everything else, or classes, as well as cardio, and they're still the same. I'm telling you, what the major thing is that they're there and they're not changing their eating habits. And if they are, what they're doing is they're basically, how can I put it, just cancelling out all what they're doing in the gym, because they're either, how can I put, I can't remember what the word is, let me try and think. Just a word such as celebrate. They're celebrating themselves, even though there's a better word than that. They're celebrating themselves too often. They reach a certain goal or a certain mark, and then they will go and eat something that's unnecessary, unneeded. What you need to do is you need to sacrifice. You have to. When you first start, or when you're going on a long trek and everything else, you have to make these decisions to begin to cut back. Why? Because unless you do that, there's not going to be massive gains if you're doing heavy weights. If you just keep on the small weights, there's not going to be no transformation. If you just keep on the basic treadmill and the basic elements of eating and keeping everything the same, but just changing one part or a little bit here and there, there's going to be no change. The tweaking comes into place later on, but what you need to do in the first instance is make a big decision and make a big move. Now that doesn't mean that you go to the gym and start smashing yourself up. It doesn't mean that you hit a diet plan where you're starving yourself, but you have a combination where you begin to have a smaller plate size, or you begin to sacrifice certain elements that are on the plate that you know that are not as good for you, and replace those elements with those food types with things that are more so like greens, vegetables, fruits and so forth. You replace the things that you've been doing that bring negative elements on you, like fast food and everything else, to having a lot more control where you're preparing the foods at home and beginning to know what is in your food. Okay, and the same with the gym. You don't go to the gym and just start smashing the rowing machine, or start running as fast as you can on the treadmill, or start lifting as many weights as you can. You basically go to the gym and you begin to, the first two things you must focus on is consistency, okay, and basically length within the gym. If you go to the gym and you need to lose weight, or your gain is to lose, or your, it's not your gain, but your aim is to lose weight, I'm telling you now, you're not going to get anywhere if you're going in there for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or 40 minutes. You need to have a time within your head that you're able to allot 1 hour, at least 1 hour a day, or not 1 hour a day, but 1 hour every single time you go to the gym. Minimum, I would say, to go to the gym every week is between 4 to 5 days a week. Minimum. Okay? Don't mess up. The longer you mess about with this, the longer you're going to draw yourself back. I'm telling you now. Okay? Because what you can do is, with those 4 or 5 days, you're able to impact yourself, and you're able to impact your life and your body. If you're training for an hour a day, you will literally lose anywhere between 1 to 1.5, maybe even 2 days worth of calories, depending on how you train and how you begin to work with your food. Okay? Now with 4 to 5 days, with 4 days you probably lose about 1 day, just about. With 5 to 6 days, you're going into basically a day, definitely, possibly a day and a half. If you're training 7 days a week, a lot of people say not to do that and everything else. I differ towards that, and I'll explain why later on. I basically say go as often as you can. I aim to go anywhere between 5 to 7 days a week. Because it's just, I want it to be part of a practice of my life now. I want consistency. I'm actually at a point now when if I don't go, I actually feel I need to go, and I have challenges within myself. And some people might say that's a bit over the top, but which one do you think is worse? That feeling, or I'm craving for basically some crisps, or I'm craving for ice cream, or I'm craving for some kind of meal that's going to be negative, or I'm craving for some binge eating, or I'm craving to overeat. I would rather have a craving and a desire, like I should go and go to the gym, rather than have a craving of eating something that I shouldn't be eating, that will just cancel out all what I've been doing for the past day or 2 days or 3 days in the gym, and with regards to my meal plan and eating, and then I'd have that. I'd rather have that. My problem that I'm working with now, because I don't see it as a problem, I see it as advantageous, as long as it doesn't begin to impact you mentally to such a state where obviously you begin to go into some eating deficiency or some exercising deficiency, in regards to it becomes over consuming. But the chances of that, when you are currently where you're at, let's be honest, don't be fooled by the media. The chance of that happening to you, usually that happens to someone that's already very lean already. And I'm talking to guys and girls that are not lean. I'm talking to guys and girls that are overweight. I'm talking to guys and girls that want to achieve something within their lives that is life-changing, in regards to do with how they feel and how they're able to control their eating habits, control their desire, and basically get energy to move forward with what they need to be doing with regards to do with beginning to have a better quality of life. Okay? And where does that begin? That begins with what we consume, what we put in, and what we put out. And if all we ever do put out is just sit down in front of the TV, or sit at work, or just sit at home and just do the bare minimum, sit in the car and everything else, those things become detrimental to all of us, no matter our age, no matter our finances, no matter our resources, because all of us are all built to indulge and overindulge with things where we can be laxed, relaxed, and just looking for pleasures. Okay? Now basically, that's where you need to start. You need to look at your meals, and you need to think, okay, I need to be prepared to set aside at least 4 to 5 days minimum that I'm going to be doing some sports or some exercise activity. Okay? It doesn't have to be the gym. It might be something where you're going swimming. It may be something where you're doing a combination of swimming and netball, or football and basketball, or something. Okay, it doesn't have to be the gym. It doesn't have to be, but it needs to be something where you will exert your current movements to a point where you need to sweat and you need to be in it for at least an hour. Okay, and that's why I think a gym is obviously the obvious thing, because obviously you can't go netball every single day or basketball every single day, because if you was doing that you'd be like a semi-pro, and obviously you wouldn't be listening to this. So you're in a position where you're not setting aside time. You need to look to set aside time for an hour a day. Now if you're in a position where you say, look John, I've got no money, I've got no gym near me, I've got nothing, I don't know what to do. Have you got a bike? If you haven't got a bike, then walk. Okay? One or the other, or do walking and riding a bike. Do not try to class taking your child to kindergarten or taking your child to school as that hour. That can become part of it, but you need to set aside an hour. Do not set aside, don't think going shopping is part of your exercise plan. Okay? Don't fool yourself. You need to do an hour above and beyond what you're doing now. If you can't do that and you're saying, John, I can't do that, what can you do? Don't let that be the excuse. I can't do an hour, so I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. Don't fool yourself. Then do 45 minutes. Do half an hour. But I will not accept, and you should not accept, any less than 30 minutes a day. 4 to 5 days a week. No less than that. You're doing that, you're going to might as well say, you're going to be, if you're doing 30 minutes a day, 4 to 5 days a week, you're going to be doubling the amount of time it's going to take to get to where you want to get to. I'm just going to be truthful, because I've done that. I listened to certain things and I've done it over a very long period of time. And I've tried it on 2 occasions. And I can say for myself, it didn't work. Okay, it might work for you, but I'll be very shocked, because my wife's tried it as well and it hasn't worked for her either. It's like anything. Without no sweat, there's no gains in what you're trying to do. Okay? Blood, sweat and tears, unfortunately, is a reality, because you wasn't bleeding, you wasn't sweating and you wasn't crying when you stuffing that food in your mouth, was you? You was laughing, you felt relaxed, you felt happy, and everything else. When you wasn't going to the gym, you felt relaxed, you wasn't sweating or anything else. But after a while, that feeling, that nagging feeling began to take hold of you. Where now, when you have those foods and you consume them, though you get that feeling of a release of niceties and you feel good about it, you're battling that other feeling now, which is basically you feel degraded within yourself, or you feel controlled and consumed by your binging and by the food and by the lack of exercise, and you feel down within yourself and you keep looking in the mirror and you keep feeling a particular way. I'm here to try and break that cycle, but I can only tell you what to do, and it's down to you to do it. So discover what it is that is holding you back, and then you have to do these 2 things. Like I said, look at what you're eating and what you're going to change immediately, and look at what you're doing in regards to doing activity and look to change that immediately. Your eating needs to be changed immediately with no days off. Okay? So if you're going to start having smaller portions, but you're going to keep eating what you're eating, okay, fair enough. It's not great. I'm going to advise you on better ways of doing that, but no days off. Don't mess about with yourself. You can't, for the first 2 to 3, 4 weeks, you can't have no days off of nothing. Once you get started, you need to be focused. You need to start walking. You need to start working. You need to start moving. You need to start eating less towards where you want to go. You need to get on that conveyor belt. The quicker you do that, the quicker you start that, the quicker you can begin. Do not get caught up with this New Year's resolution, just mayhem within your mind, or this resolution of I will do this once this has happened. Start now. Aim to start today. Like I said before, if you can't start today, start tomorrow. If you can't start tomorrow, then start this week. But whatever you do, don't let it go beyond 7 days. Get yourself organized, get motivated, and move forward. Keep on, keep it on. Just do it already. Take care. Speak to you again soon. See ya.